गच्छन्ति मूढ़ पदमव्ययं निर्वाणमोहाजितसङ्गदोष आध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामा द्वन्द्वै विमुक्तै सुखदुःखसंज्ञै गच्छन्ति मूढपदमव्ययं Those who are free from false prestige, illusion and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from the realities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to the eternal kingdom. Purpose. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the Lord of the material nature. It is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion, for although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has a foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he always is in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considered the land, this earth, to belong to human society, and they have divided the land with the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When one is free from such false notion, he becomes free from all the false association caused by familial, social, and national affections. This faulty association binds one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of these things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes fully in knowledge. It is possible for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurgalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stavitam Yena Bhuvane Swayam Rupakadam Dadati Srivadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuda Padamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sagaradadantam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvabhutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devim Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagadavita Sri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Sri Pade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinadine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadharini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Anchara Bhagavad-Gita Kripa Sindhu Vijaya Chakatitanam Kalam Vaishnava Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sunday feast. Today we are discussing a very important sloka from Bhagavad Gita. This sloka explains about the process of surrender. It's very nicely explained in this particular verse. So any subject we want to first of all want to know, like you take up any subject, there are so many questions and answers. Like FQA, frequently asked questions. So this Bhagavad Gita is full of samvada. Sri Krishna Arjuna samvada. Samvada means question and answers. There is vivada, means arguments which leads to fight. Vitandavada. There are so many things which we know from Bhagavad Gita, but this is samvada, question and answers. So, like there are frequently asked questions, this sloka, particularly which we read today, is the frequently asked Vaikunta qualities. So these qualities are frequently mentioned, these Vaikunta qualities in this many places in Bhagavad Gita. So Nirvana Moha means pridelessness, being free from illusion. So all these things are very systematically explained in this sloka. So just like if a person wants to get into some job, first thing is they see some qualifications. For example, if one wants to join some army, there are so many tests. They they see what is his physical fitness. There is some like different tests, like he has to run and like long jump, and at the same time there is oral test, IQ test, and finally when he is passed out of all these tests, then he is getting to this army. Similarly, you see any job, they want to have a qualified person, then only they allow him to join the job. So similarly, this particular verse explains who is qualified to go back home, back to Godhead, what are his qualities. So even materially speaking also, there are so many qualities required, so many qualifications required, and what to speak of spirituality. So one takes up spirituality, one wants to be eligible to go back home, back to Godhead, he has to have these qualities. So we'll go by each and every word of this sloka, try to elaborate on each and every word of this sloka. So here the first word which is explained in this sloka is nirmana. So nirmana means being free from false ego. Generally, ego is identification. Everyone is identified. Like I am this. We have identification in two ways. So false identification means to identify with this body. There is two types of egos: false ego and true ego. So true ego is I am not this body. I am part and parcel of Krishna, and I am eternal servant of Krishna. This is true ego. And false ego is I am this material body, and everything related with body is mine, I and me. So this is false ego. So no one can be without ego. No one can. Ego means identification. No one can say I am be without ego, but rather we say that we have true ego. That is, we are servants of Krishna. So here, to be free from pride, the first point is nirvana. So generally, a materially conscious person, he thinks that he is the enjoyer of everything, and whatever actions he performs, the results what he gets, he thinks he is the because of his endeavor, he is getting all these results, and he doesn't acknowledge the presence of the Lord. He thinks he is the doer, and he is bewildered by this false notion, and he thinks that. And in this way, he is connected with his bodily designations. So I am this body, and whatever the designations he has, he recognizes himself as designation. So there was a minister, an ex-defense minister in India, who was very much attached to his post and position. So once what happened, he was paralyzed, he was having some suffering, and he was removed from the job. So he was so attached to the job, he was so connected to his designation that he was not able to sleep properly, he was not able to eat anything. So what his servants did, they put him in the wheelchair. They used to every day take him around morning hours, they used to take around the parliament. They say, okay, now the meeting is over, let us go to the home. And then when he comes to home, then he used to have his breakfast. So he was so attached to his designation. So this Srila Prabhupada also explains about in this connection, designation. He says, in one of his lectures, he speaks that you are Americans and I am Indian. So I am not interested in Americans, you Americans, I am not interested about Americans, or neither you are not interested about Indians. But we are interested, our main focus is Krishna, we are interested in Krishna. So that is what uniting us together. Because we are attached to Krishna, because we are trying to know about Krishna, that's what keeping us together. So this is a very good example. Prabhupada says, how can we be free from this all material designations? So, here, the point is, these designations, material designations are the cause of this bondage. We think when we designate with this body, then that is cause of entanglement. So there is and in this way we start we become proud of our designation. We develop pride. So I am so and so. So everyone has to respect. So the word nirmana means not expecting any respect. But here, when we want mana, that means respect. Then it's difficult. So in this way, there is one nice saying by Vaishnava Acharya. He says that a person can easily give up kanaka. Kanaka means wealth. He can easily give up wealth. And also he can give up kamini, means beautiful girl. But at the same time, kanaka kamini he can give up, but pratishtha is the thing, the pride is the thing which he cannot give up. It's very difficult to give up. So therefore, there is a saying that pride comes before fall. Person he is about to fall, that means first of all his pride is increased, then he dooms. So a person who is proud, he becomes crooked and envious. He starts to envy everyone. He becomes crooked in his thinking. So therefore the Vaishnava Acharya says this pratishtha, this pride, is considered to be Vaishnava pratishtha sukera vishta. He says that Vaishnava pratishtha is considered to be like a stool of a hog. So he compares with that hog's stool, such a abnormal thing, such a insignificant. So what is so great to be proud about our position? If we see in Bhagavad Gita, what is our position is very nicely explained in so many verses. Like one of the verses explains that Keshagra Satabhagasya. That means Keshagra Satabhagasya means like 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair. If we cut the tip of the hair into 1,000 particles, that is the size of our soul. Like there are so many innumerable souls in this material world, Krishna. We are part and parcel of the Lord. We are so tiny particle. So what to be so proud of being a particle? And whatever we want, we are completely depending on Krishna. If Krishna doesn't allow us, we cannot even utter a single word from our mouth. If we want to speak also, that power is given by Krishna. If we want to do something also, that ability is given by Krishna. So materialistically, whatever abilities we have, any ability, the main source is Krishna. Krishna is the source. From Krishna we are getting everything. So what to be proud about it? So if Krishna takes away our speech, we cannot even utter a single word. So we are so much dependent on Krishna. So why to be puffed up with borrowed views? So therefore, here nirmana means being free from proud. That is the first word in this sloka. And the second word is nirmoha. Nirmoha means being free from illusion. So here the person who is in moha, how he acts, what is his thinking, that is very nicely explained in the Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, a person in the conditioned stage is helpless, but under illusion he thinks that he is completely protected by his country, friendship, family, relatives, not knowing at the end no one can save him. So we can see in so many cases like a person lying on his deathbed, all his family members, all his relatives are surrounded around him, but when he is going to die, no one can help him. So in this way, in illusion he thinks that I am protected by my friends, my families, they are my protectors. But ultimately he forgets that Krishna is the one who is the real protector. Once when Draupadi was insulted, was tried to disrobe in the assembly, Kauravas. Initially she was trying to protect herself, but she failed. But when she recognized that I am helpless, I am in helpless status, only Krishna, Govinda can protect me, and she started calling Govinda Krishna loudly. So then when the Lord came, when the Lord came and he protected her. So afterwards, after this whole episode goes on, then Draupadi asked Krishna, like, why did you not come before when I was insulted? Then Krishna says, oh yeah, he want to pacify Draupadi. He says, yeah, I did not come when in the initial stage when you are insulted. But actually, the thing is, Draupadi wants to protect herself. She did not seek the shelter of Krishna. That's why Lord allowed her, he did not immediately. So when she completely started depending on Krishna, then Lord immediately appeared. So the point is, here, a person who is materially contaminated, he thinks, I am protected by my family and all these things, but actually, one who is free from this illusion, this moha, he always seeks the protection of Krishna. So here, the person who is in moha, he thinks, aham ameti. That means I and mine. Whoever is connected to me is mine. So in this way, he thinks that I am this body, and there are various ways of this moha explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. This moha can be like it can be captivated. It can be captivated person in many ways. First one they say is tamishra. Tamishra means a person who is in this stage of tamishra. He starts thinking he is very envious of God. Thinks why Krishna should be enjoyed, why should not I? Why Krishna has so many wives? Like there are some places, some religion. They say they actually they don't preach something about God, but they want to criticize. So they say why Krishna has married 16,108 wives. They always criticize God. But Krishna also, he also lifted Govardhan. They don't want to talk about that subject. So they are envious. Actually, they are very envious of God. So they all come under this category of tamishra. So they say, I can live without God. I don't care for God. I do not have any help from God. So they think in this way. And there is a second stage of this moha. It's called as andha tamishra. So in this stage, they think that I got this life, and anyhow one day this is going to be end, and let me enjoy. There was one Muni called as Sarvak Muni. He was an atheist, but he was propagating this philosophy. He says, Basmi Bhutasya Deyasya. He says, one day your body will become into ash. So as long as you are there, you enjoy. Beg, borrow or steal. You may beg, you may borrow, or you may steal, doesn't matter. But enjoy. As long as you are living in this body, enjoy. That is his philosophy. So they all come under this category, andha tamishra. And the another stage is called tamas. Tamas means deep ignorance. So the person who is in this tamas, he thinks that I am this body. So this body is only made with 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air and ether. Panchabhutas. So this is perishable. It will not sustain for long. But he thinks that he identifies himself with this body. So Srila Prabhupada, in many of his verses from Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, he always emphasizes on this one point that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. So why he is repeatedly saying this again and again? Because just like if there is an example given by devotee, he says that if you want to hit a nail to a wall, it's not that by one shot you can hit and it is penetrated to the wall. You have to hit again and again. So slowly that nail will be penetrating into the wall. Similarly, to keep this thought always in our mind that we are not this body but we are the spirit soul, to actually get this realization about this particular aspect, we have to repeatedly hear these things that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, so that this knowledge will penetrate into our mind. So that's why repeatedly this verse is quoted, this philosophy is taught by Prabhupada. So the person who is in tamas, he thinks that he is the body. And the fourth category is moha. So one who is in moha, his primary goal of this life is to just satisfy the senses. Since the senses are given by the senses are there just for gratifying them. So he is trying to satisfy his senses again and again, but the senses never gets satisfied. Just like a person who is working in a company under some proprietor, he works very hard, but the proprietor, if he is never satisfied, what is the use? So similarly, the senses are such a thing that Even though you want to serve them to the best of your ability, the senses get never satisfied. And the more you try to satisfy the senses, the more we are frustrated, because the senses can never be satisfied. So one who is in moha is trying to always gratify senses. And coming to the fifth stage called mahamoha, that is complete madness for sense gratification. So one thinks himself to be God. So Prabhupada says this is the last layer of Maya. One who is completely in Maya, when he is totally deluded by Maya, influenced by Maya, he starts thinking that I am God. I am God, you are God, everyone is God. Like if a person says, I am president, he is president, everyone is president, means what? There is no president. So actually they want to compete with God. So here, there is a small story like from here, we hear from Puranas about Hiranyakashipu, who was also claiming himself to be God. So Narada Muni, he used to visit Hiranyakashipu to his palace, and he used to always chant Om Hiranyakashipaya Namah. So he was very pleased when Narada Muni was chanting Hiranyakashipu's name. But one day Narada Muni came and he started saying, he was chanting Om Namo Narayana. Then he got very angry. He said, why are you not chanting my name? Then Narada said, yes, I will not chant, what you will do? And Hiranyakashipu got very angry. He said, I will kill you now. So he has a sword. The sword which is in the hands of Hiranyakashipu is Chandrahasa. So this sword is very special sword. So when he wants to kill anyone, he used to release that sword. The sword used to go and chop the person's head and come back to him. So here, when he released this Chandrahasa, it went to Narada and it could not do anything. It came back. So for the first time, Hiranyakashipu was seeing that the weapon which he was released did not attack Narada, but it came back without doing its job. So here, because Narada was having not material body, he was having spiritual body. So then Hiranyakashipu realized that this gave him impetus to do a lot of tapasya, perform austerities. So the point is, Hiranyakashipu was trying to control everyone. He wants to become the Lord. He wants to compete with the Lord. So he was saying everyone to chant his names. So this is called as Mahamoha. So the greatest delusion, biggest illusion. Thinks oneself to be God. Ananda Brahma. Brahma means Bhranti. Thinking to be happy and being illusion. Just like if at all someone is in this material world, he wants to flourish materially, then he has to think that everything in this material world is permanent. We are not going to die, we are not going to get old, we are not going to have any disease. We can have permanent settlement in this material world. When one thinks in this way only, he can work very hard like an ass and earn money. But if one comes to the realization that in this material world nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, then why to work so hard? The big question mark. Why to do over endeavor? For what? So this is called Ananda Brahma. It gives a strong impetus to work hard. Then there is another explanation given by he says, Smaranitya Anityatam. Smaranitya means always. Anitya means this material world is anitya. It's temporary. Nothing is permanent in this material world. You see, everything is perishable in this material world. And it's always dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place of miseries. So people may ask, no, this place we are all having some happiness, we are deriving some kind of happiness. What is that happiness? Actually, there is no, in first place there is no happiness in this material world, but the happiness which we think in this material world is the biggest illusion. It's only a break from suffering. Just like in olden days, the kings, what they used to do, they used to take a prisoner, take a robber or a criminal to a pond, and they used to forcefully push his head into the water. So when he was very much suffocating, he was unable to breathe, then they used to release him. So for the time being, he used to feel little relief. He used to say, ha, now nice. Then again, when he feels relief, again he used to push him again into the water. So it's like the point is the break which he is getting from the suffering, that he is considered to be relief or happiness. So similarly, in this material world, there are so many kinds of kleshas. Durga Devi, she is punishing all the living entities from this three types of kleshas: Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, and Adhyatmika kleshas. No one is exception. Okay, he may be king, a greatest king, or he may be pauper on the street. Everyone is having these three kinds of sufferings. So, but they get a little break, and they think that is to be happiness. But that is only a break from suffering. It's not considered to be happiness. So, if at all one want to realize that transcendental happiness, that is only possible by engaging in devotional activities. So, he says, Maranitya Anityatam. So he says, always remember that this material world is anitya, it's temporary. It is going to be perished one day. So when we realize this point, then we don't want to waste our time in materialistic activities. Time is more valuable. Chanakya Pandit says, Ayusha Akshana Ego Vila Labhya Swarna Koti Bihi. Even a fraction of second cannot be purchased with Koti Swarna Mudra, means thousands of gold coins you may have. But even with that thousands of gold coins, you can even not purchase a fraction of second. So time is considered to be more valuable than anything else in this material world. So one who realizes that everything is perishable, he don't want to waste time here. He wants to think about higher subject matters, that is, realize about God. So therefore, one who is in moha, there is a verse from chapter 7 of 13th sloka. It explains that mohitam navi janati ma mebhya param abjayam. So one who is in moha, navi janati, he will not understand about my param abjaya, about me and about my spiritual body. So this is the second word, nirmana moha, jita sangha. Nirmana moha. We discussed about two words. Now the third word is jita sangha dosha. So this word in this verse explains that about association. The sangha, jita sangha dosha. The sangha which has dosha, one who is free from this kind of sangha. That means who is free from faulty association. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu elaborates about faulty associations in various ways. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, Asat Sangatyaga Yehi Vaishnavacha. He says, a Vaishnava is realized by whom he associates with. A Vaishnava is one who gives up the company of non-devotees. In this way we can realize that he is a Vaishnava. So that is the first qualification. So why we have to give up the association of non-devotees? The reason is, one's desires and ambitions are developed according to the association he keeps. If a person is associated with a thief, automatically, naturally develops the ideas how to, he also wants to become a thief also. He develops the qualities. So this association is a thing which is very much influencing on each and every one of us. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, therefore, he gives warning that Asat Sangatyaga Yehi Vaishnava. That is the first point he says. Again, he says one more important thing from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Vishera Anna Khaire Dushta Hoyamana. He says, if you eat the food which is cooked by a materialistic person, then your mind also becomes wicked. You become crooked by taking that food. And in this way, when we become crooked, then we start committing offences. That offences are considered to be like mad elephant offences. So this is everything has connection. The food also. And then he speaks about the third thing is Yoshita Sangha Sangina. Yoshita means one who is totally attached to a woman. Not only a person who is attached to a woman, but when we associate with a person who is attached to a woman, then also it is considered to be Asat Sangha. There is a nice example in Srimad Bhagavad Puran. It explains about Ajamil. How he got associated with a prostitute and he loses all his Brahminical qualifications. Then he starts committing so much crime. He was looting people, he is killing the people. He stoops down to such an extent that we cannot imagine. Such a wonderful Brahmana, but how degraded he was. Degraded he becomes just by that association. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used this warning. Yoshita Sangha Sangina, not to be attached to a person who is attached to women. And then he says about Mayavad. He says Mayavad Bhashya Sunila Hoya Sarvanash. Even if a devotee associates with Mayavad, his bhakti becomes a sarvanash, his devotion is destroyed. So now what is the problem associated with Mayavad? Mayavad is Vishnu Aparadi, Mayavadi Vishnu Aparadi. He says, Vigraha is only for Vigraha, but we do not have, Lord has no form. He has no eyes, he has no ears, he has no hands, he has no legs. That means it's actually insult to Lord. If at all Lord doesn't have any form, then why Srila Vyasadeva has to give such a wonderful descriptions of in Srimad Bhagavatam about the various features of the Lord? He says, Venam Panam Tamaravinda Dalaya Dakshindal. He compares the Lord's eyes with the beautiful lotus flower, lotus petals, Tribhangam, and all the features we hear from Bhagavad Puran. Why Vyasadeva has to take so much trouble to explain all this? So that's why if we hear Mayavada Bhashya, then our whole bhakti will be destroyed. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this warning also. So now giving up the non-devotee association and coming to devotee association. What is the benefit of coming to devotee association? The benefit is devotees association, when there are true sadhus, when there are devotees, they desire that everyone should make spiritual advancement. They are happy seeing that everyone is flourishing spiritually. So they are trying to fan the spark. Like we see from one of the quality of our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. He was fanning the spark. He was encouraging everyone in their spiritual life. So when we come into devotee association, we are encouraged in a positive way. We are encouraged to serve the Supreme Lord, which actually helps us for our purification. So this encouragement is there. So Srila Prabhupada explains, he gives a wonderful example of a scientist, Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose. He says, this was a scientist who was trying to make an experiment. He was actually growing two plants. He planted he sowed two seeds, and when it was budding and the plant came out, then one plant he kept in one particular place, and he was giving nice music to the plant, and he was always praising the plant, was talking some good words, and he kept another plant in other side, and he was abusing that, he was scolding that plant, and he was saying all bad words, ill words. So after some time he noticed that the plant which was always hearing nice music and some nice words was nicely flourishing, nicely growing. But on the other hand, he saw the plant which was always abused and criticized and ill words, that was not growth, there was no plant. So now the point is, even to a plant, in order to grow, that requires a lot of encouragement and so much support. So what to speak of human beings? If they want to have a spiritual growth, they should have a good association, and they should be encouraged in spiritual activities there. In this way there is a positive growth. So therefore, if we come naturally into a good association, then we are encouraged. Prabhupada was very expert in this. He was encouraged. He was saying he was a Nityas, he was a Paramahamsa. He was seeing good qualities in each and everyone, and he was trying to enlarge that qualities and give them and engage them in service. So he was so expert in that. So here we see, even if a good person comes into bad association, then there is danger also. Like a Kaikeyi, if you see from the history of Ramayana, Kaikeyi was such a wonderful mother. She was having so much affection for Lord Ramachandra. More than Bharata, she was loving Lord Rama. But because she got attached to, she was always hearing from her maid servant Mandara, her mind got corrupted. and she starts saying that you have to banish Rama into the forest. So see the difference, the association affects a lot. So here, here in this sloka we heard this word Jita Sangha Dosha. Then the next word is Adhyatma Nitya. So Adhyatma Nitya means always cultivating spiritual knowledge. Always Nitya. So the word Nitya means eternal. Like anything spiritual is not temporary, it's eternal. When we say Krishna's pastime, we say it's Nitya Leela. Krishna's Nitya Leela is going on always. It's not that Krishna has performed his Leela in Vrindavan, this Bhava Vrindavan, and now it's over. No. Again, Krishna is continuing his Leela. Nitya Leela is going on in different planet. So it's always ever fresh, it's always eternal. Therefore, we call anything spiritual, we call it eternal. So people say we want settlement, but there is no eternal settlement in this material world. If we want at all, if at all we want to have something eternal, that is only attainable in spiritual world. So there is an eternal house for us in spiritual world. There is an eternal master for us in the spiritual world. There is eternal knowledge which is there in spiritual world, and which is imperishable and which where there is no destruction at all. So even though we call this dham pilgrim places where the Lord performs his leelas, that is also called as that is the embassy of this spiritual world. So when there is a destruction, when the pralaya takes place, the whole material world is destroyed, but the spiritual world which is there in this Bhava Vrindavan never gets destroyed. So that is the significance of this Nitya. So one who is always engaged in this Adhyatma Nitya, which is giving eternal spiritual benefit. In this way, he is Vinivritta Kama. The next word says in this sloka is that in this way he is being free from Kama. In this way he is free from these material desires. So the point is Vinivritta Kama. Kama means desires. So the mind is full of thoughts and so many desires. So we don't say that you become desireless. No one can become desireless. So in other way, we cultivate spiritual desires. In this way, all the material desires are nullified. So the only thing is we have to cultivate spiritual desires. So in the spiritual desires, we don't try to gratify our senses, but the thing is we want to satisfy Krishna. We act for the pleasure of Krishna. So there is a verse from 7th chapter 12th verse in Bhagavad Gita explains that those who even have material desires, who try to surrender themselves to the Supreme Lord, are not very much attracted to the external. Gradually they lose attraction towards this material nature because they are appropriately, rightly situated on the right path. So gradually, because they are connected on the right path, gradually they are, in this way they are free from this Kama, Vinivritta Kama. So in this way, the next word in this sloka, Vinivritta Kama, Dvandayar Vimukta. The next word in this sloka is Dvandayar Vimukta. Dvanda means dualities. This material world is dual world. Sometimes there is happiness, sometimes there is distress, sometimes there is insults, sometimes someone glorifies us. It's all Dvanda. So, not be too much overwhelmed by happiness, or not be too much morose when we are having miseries. So we must be equipoised in both the situations. So this is called as Dvandayar Vimukta. So here, therefore we can just understand the example. So there was a person who was trying to get a lottery ticket. So he was always purchasing this lottery ticket, but never he got one. So one day he got this lottery. He won some 10 lakhs rupees, something like that. So he was so excited, so happy that out of that excitement, that happiness, suddenly he got heart attack and he died. So this is like being overwhelmed by happiness. When a person becomes overwhelmed by happiness, that also is like miserable. And at the same time, there is one more example. When one is depressed, too much depressed by sadness, that is also not good. There was a girl who committed suicide, and when she committed suicide, mother could also not bear her separation. She also committed suicide. At the same time, father, and at the same time, her brother also. All the family members committed suicide. And finally, there was an investigation made, and then when they got a letter, the girl, when she was about to commit suicide, she wrote a letter, and in that letter it was written that on my birthday, my friend did not wish me. Silly reason. For a silly reason, she committed mistake, and because she committed mistake, the parents, they were too much attached to the girl. They also committed mistake. So this is called overwhelmed by sadness. So they think that when there is so much distress, the only solution is commit suicide. But committing suicide is not the solution for any problems. Rather, it increases more and more problems. So here, that's why Sukha Dukkha Dvandaya Vimukta, the word Dvandaya Vimukta means we should be occupied in both the situations. Here, specifically the word Dvandaya Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Samjaya. This verse explains about Sukha and Dukkha. So this is the duality is explained in this verse. Sukha Dukkha means happiness and distress. There is one nice poet who sings in a bhajan that Dukh mein sumiran sabhi kare, sukh mein kare na koi, dukh mein sumiran kare, dukh katan se ho. So he says that when there is a misery, naturally everyone comes to take shelter of the Lord. Oh Lord, I am in miseries, please help me to come out of this miseries, please solve my problem. But the poet wonderfully explains that not only in miseries, when you are in a miserable situation, but when you are in a favorable situation, when you are happy also. Sukme sumriyan kare dukh katana se hoy. He says when you are happy also, still if you take shelter of the Lord, if you come and seek the shelter blessing, always surrender to the Lord, then where from miseries comes out. This is a wonderful explanation given by this poet. So, Sukha Dukkha Samjaya, then the last final word speaks, Gacchanti Amuda Padamavyayam Tat. Gacchanti means, in this way, one who is equipoised in both happiness and distress, he is the eligible candidate, he is the eligible one to go back home, back to Godhead. This Padamavyayam means spiritual world. Gacchanti Amuda. Muda means foolish, and Amuda means who is not a fool. So who is Amuda? So here in this context, in this particular verse, Amuda means one who is free from pride, illusion, one who is free from quality association, one who is always cultivating spiritual knowledge, and one who is free from material desires, and one who is equipoised in both in all the dual situations. So he is considered to be Amuda, and he is the eligible candidate for going to Padamavyayam. So he is eligible to go to spiritual world. So here the word, again the word Avyaya we hear. Avyayam. So Avyaya means imperishable world. Spiritual world is called as Avyayam. So in this way we can analyze ourselves. There is a long way to go. Today's morning, Srimad Bhagavatam, Anattam Prabhu, His Grace Anattam Prabhu was speaking that he was saying that just by wearing Kantimala, just by applying tilak and just by having a beads in our hand, that doesn't make us a wonderful devotee. But actually, if we analyze, these are the qualities we have to imbibe. So only when we are imbibing these qualities, then it is considered that we are progressing towards, we are heading towards spiritual life. So there is a long way to go. So there is a nice story. There was a person who just from a remote village area, he boarded a train. He was planning to go to Delhi for the first time. So it's a long way. So he just boarded the train, and he was, the train was going and stopping at the station, and he was always peeping out of the window and saying, "Is this Delhi station? Is this Delhi station?" And the co-passenger, he got disturbed. He says, "Sit down. Right, abhi Delhi bahut dur hai." He says in Hindi. He says, "Delhi is far, far away. Now Delhi has not come. There is a long way to go." So similarly, spiritual life we have taken, accepted, but if we try to cultivate these qualities, beyond, there is a long way to go. It's not that just by wearing tilak and kanti we are doing the best. So many things to be cultivated. So here, therefore, this particular verse explains about how a person who is free from all this pride and illusion, how he is qualified to go to the spiritual world, and at the same time, the process of surrender is very nicely explained. So Srila Prabhupada gives a nice story, like in one of his lectures, he says a story that there is an ocean and there is a big elephant going and standing on the shore of on the banks of this ocean. And there is a heavy tides coming and hitting the elephant. And at one point of time, these waves, they are so strong that they even pull out the elephants into the ocean. So the elephant is, the waves, they drown this elephant, biggest elephant into the ocean. But again, he says there is another entity, very tiny entity, which the waves could not do anything. Can you guess what it is? Huh? Fish. A fish in the ocean. It has taken shelter of this ocean. That's why even though there is a heavy tides, there is a heavy current, the wind, the waves are blowing like anything, but still they could not do anything to the fish. Actually, if you observe, the fish is flowing against the currents. You cannot, if there are heavy swift waves, you cannot swim across the current. So, but this fish is so capable that it is swimming across the current. The reason Prabhupada says, because this fish has taken shelter of the ocean, that's why it's survived. So in the same way, if we at all want to make advancement of spiritual, if we completely try to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in this way, this material ocean, these tides cannot disturb us. So I'll conclude here. Any questions or comments? Little louder, please. What I could hear is, as a Jiva, where constitutional position is to render service to Krishna, and all the acharyas are saying the same. Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya. That's a very good point. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram Bhagavad Gita ki. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Sita Gaur Premanande.